The Utah Jazz season comes to an end in game number 6 against the Dallas Mavericks. So quite frankly, the offense just never got going in the series. Some of the old bugaboos came back as well, but that's really the story as much as anything, is the Jazz never got their offense back. David Locke along with Ron Boone. This is POSTCAST. So Ron Boone, the season comes to an end sooner than we had hoped against the Dallas Maverick team that, honestly, in a lot of ways tonight was just better than the Jazz. I thought the Jazz played hard. There aren't a lot of things I think you can look at with the Jazz and say should have, would have, could have. Maybe I'm sure people will find some of them, but in my book, really, I just, the Dallas was in a close fought game. I think Dallas was probably just better than Utah tonight.
Yeah, executed very better, I thought. Got the type of shots that they needed, but and they had Luka just orchestrating everything that they needed to get done there in that third period. Remarkable player, has good size, good offensive ability, but he just made things better, I think, for Vinny Smith. And Bullock only had a couple of field goals, but those were the ones that uncontested that Luka made for him. But you got to give your hats off to Dallas. The way they used their offense against the Utah Jazz tonight was just remarkable.
So 2 plays late in the game Jazz fans will be talking about, both on the offensive end. One, Mike Conley has the ball, open floor, 4 seconds, open opportunity, down by 1, I believe it was down by 1 at the time, chance to possibly win the ball game, and he travels. He gets in the lane, he stops. He didn't keep the dribble alive, and he stops, drags his foot, gets and travels. And then the other one, an unbelievable play by Quinn Snyder out of the timeout, looping pass over the top. Bojan wide open. He doesn't take the usual dribble he takes. If I had it, wish that would be, I think he had enough time to take it. He got it off with about 2.1 seconds left, and he misses. And, boy, we have had a lot of times over the last few years where a clutch bogey 3 is right up there with death and taxes as the guarantees in life. It seems almost appropriate that in a weird way this season, a season that never, regained its rhythm after COVID and where unexpected things kept happening, i.e., like the Jazz having the best offense in the league and never getting the offense going, that a bogey 3 would come up short. There was no way I thought he was going to miss it when he had it, and then it came off his hands, and there was no way it was going in.
Well, he's such a great shooter that every time he shoots the basketball, you think it's going to go in. Same with Donovan. A lot of times the same with Conley there as well, because of the year that they've had, or the career that they've had in shooting a 3-point shot, especially that right corner. Now, that left corner is not one of Bogey's corners that he takes a lot of them, but his percentage is still good, from that left corner. If that was in that right corner, boy, that would have been probably automatic, because that's where he makes most of his 3-point field goals.
From a defensive standpoint, we see this a lot of the same thing that caused the Jazz such problems over the years. Is that Dwight Powell does not play in the second half. Dallas had never got the pick and roll going the entire series. They kept trying and trying. I could give you all the data. I don't think anyone gives a beep about data right now. Take that for data. But they didn't. They couldn't get the pick and roll going. The Jazz are the number 1 pick and roll defense. That have been for years. And so they spread the floor. And they didn't play Dwight Powell. They played Maxi Kleber just 7 minutes in the second half. Jason Kidd just spread it out. Played Dorian. Played no center, really.
Right.
And the same, and the Jazz allowed 37 points in the third quarter, or 36, and that was the season.
Yeah, it's like we saw this last year against the Clippers, where they go small, 5 out, and just cause problems with the Jazz defensively, and even offensively. The Jazz were still unable to get the basketball to Rudy. Rudy only attempted 6 shots tonight, 12 rebounds rather. But I'd like to see a secondary offense. I think when teams go to something like that.
It's an interesting kind of place where the Jazz are right now. They get out of the first round last year, and they then lose to the Clippers. They lose to Denver in the bubble in Game 7. Unlike those 2 series, the Jazz really were never in control of this series. They won Game 1, but a disappointing performance in Game 2, and then to lose Game 3 at home. And I I've actually left this one with kind of the feeling that Dallas is just a lot better than Utah. Maybe just because of Luka, but I mean the fact that they won the series in 6 without Luka playing 3. If I'm evaluating the series, I have to just say Dallas is a much better team than Utah.
Yeah, I'd say that as well, David, especially late in the year when they made the trades and added a couple of players. They added a couple of 3-point shooters and a couple of wing players there. I'm going to talk about Bullock and Dinwiddie, and obviously Vinny Smith has given his Jazz some problems there as well. But yeah, they positioned themselves, or they made themselves better by filling positions that they needed to fill, and giving Luka more support than what they had when they had Porzingis in the lineup.
The Mavericks were 18-5 after that trade. You know why they got better in that trade? They traded for 2 good players and they gave away a bad one. Helps.
Yeah.
From a Jazz standpoint, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't know what happens next. I'm not one who believes in this like blow it out idea. I don't know. Blow it up. I don't know what you think happens at that point. I think you end up with an empty lot, and not much on it if you're not careful.
Yeah, you brought up a point, David, about that third period and how the Jazz have struggled throughout the playoffs in the third period. And I guess we'd have to go back and watch films and see what adjustments teams make. Obviously, the adjustment tonight was, as you just mentioned, by not playing Powell and going 5 out. Even when they put Cleaver in the ball game, they didn't keep him in the ball game that long, But so the adjustment that they made, I'd like to see what other teams have made there as well. But
I believe the Jazz were like in the regular season. I don't have my notes are somewhere long gone. I think the Jazz were the number 2 third quarter team in the NBA. I mean, there's nothing about this
series.
Yeah, right. No, like this series, the Jazz were -10 in third going into tonight, and tonight was worse, right? So the Jazz probably finished -15, -20 per 100 possessions in the third quarter. So it was certainly a problem. What's so interesting is like the Jazz couldn't score. They were the number 1 offense. They had bad third quarters. They were the number 2 third quarter team in the regular season. Like a lot of the things that they did well throughout the year just did not come with them into this series.
Yeah. Well, it was a great year anyway. Hopefully the Jazz make some good choices. I think as far as improving this basketball team, I think we should mention the series that Clarkson had. He was such a bright spot, and just fun to watch. He just sometimes you feel like he's out of control, but that's the way he plays, and Quinn lets him go, and he just seems to make things happen.
The one thing I want to point out about this series, I think, is just I'll point it out now, frankly, so that when the narrative starts otherwise, it can be pointed out that we point out now. So the Jazz defense the last 3 games of the series was great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Jazz actually figured out how to play defense. The Mavericks offensive rating was 110, 108. That's like, you should beat that. That's like, that's right at league average. The Jazz, if you told me coming into the series that the Jazz would have 4 games in which the Mavericks offensive rating was below 110, I would have promised you we won the series.
Okay.
So the Jazz offense, inability offensively is what cost them this series, not Rudy Gobert getting spread out in 5 wide. The Jazz inability, which was really by the end of it, the key number is in the last 2 nights, they go 12 of 65 from 3. Now, why? We got to figure that out. But that's, like it's an interest. Like to me, I just think that's like important to point out as we sit here trying to evaluate this. I haven't started to watch the National yet. I know what the articles will be tomorrow. It'll be about Rudy being spread out. It's not true. Like the offensive rating was a 108. That's not good. The Jazz offensive rating was worse. Now, is it because Rudy is a detriment to the team offensively so much so that they aren't able to have good playoff offense? Maybe. That's probably a legitimate conversation. But Rudy defensively getting spread out, battling against Luka and all that will be talked about by a bunch of very lazy journalists is actually not accurate. Just thought I'd get it out there now.
Said that? Yeah, okay.
Because I'm going to be fighting that for the next 3 months. So I just wanted on record that before I've heard any of those journalists, I'm telling you that's the case now. Why we're not good enough offensively, why the number 1 offense in the league didn't come in this series, I think is really the question that has to be asked.
Well,
thanks, Ron Boone.
Thanks for a great year that as you always do, always have. And
thank you to everybody who joined us throughout the year. All 8 favorites advance in the first round of the playoffs, which is interesting for all the people for the old calling card that the regular season doesn't matter. Turns out maybe it does. Maybe it's actually a pretty good indicator of where you are. So we'll see. Thank you very much to everybody who tuned in. We really appreciate all of you. A lot of regulars in there. A lot of Maverick fans have been fun to be interacting with. It's been a great honor to do this. Ron's the best. So hopefully heading back to do it for you again next year. Locked on Jazz will continue, and Postcast will be there then.
In case you're wondering why he's wearing this T-shirt.
I blew through my shirt during the broadcast tonight. It's in the garbage back here, and I had to buy this shirt, so I have one for the rest of the game. All right.
All right.
See you guys.